Haile Selassie I, the Lion of Judah and Father of African Sovereignty, by Selassie. Haile Selassie I, born Tafari Makonnen on July 23, 1892, in Ejersogoro, Ethiopia, remains one of the most influential African figures of the 20th century. Revered as a divine figure by millions of Rastafari worldwide and honored as a statesman, reformer, and symbol of African unity, his legacy continues to spark debate, inspire movements, and shape historical discourse. From emperor to exile, and from messiah to martyr in the eyes of many, Selassie's life is a tale of vision, power, spiritual significance, and unyielding resistance against colonial domination, early life and rise to power. Tafari Makonnen was born into the Ethiopian aristocracy, with lineage tracing to King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, a royal heritage considered sacred in Ethiopian Orthodox Christianity and later in Rastafari teachings. He was educated at home and quickly showed signs of intelligence, leadership, and diplomacy. His father, Ras Makonnen, was a governor and trusted ally of Emperor Menelik II, and young Tafari was groomed in the corridors of Ethiopian politics. In 1916, Tafari became regent plenipotentiary and heir apparent following the deposition of Emperor Lige Ayasu. It was during this time he began modernizing the Ethiopian state. Fluent in several languages and deeply exposed to Western governance models, he laid the groundwork for Ethiopia's entry into the international community. In 1930, he was crowned Emperor Haile Selassie I, Power of the Trinity, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Conquering Lion of the Tribe of Judah. The coronation was a grand affair, attended by global dignitaries, and marked a moment of pride not only for Ethiopia, but for all colonized African people who saw in him a symbol of black sovereignty and dignity. Resistance against fascism. Selassie's defining moment on the world stage came during the Second Italo-Ethiopian War 1935 to 1936, when fascist Italy under Benito Mussolini invaded Ethiopia. Despite valiant Ethiopian resistance, the superior firepower of the Italians, who used chemical weapons and aerial bombardments, led to occupation. Haile Selassie was forced into exile, fleeing to Bath, England. Yet in 1936, he stood before the League of Nations in Geneva and gave one of the most powerful speeches in modern history. His address, in which he warned the world that "it is us today, it will be you tomorrow," was a prophetic indictment of fascist aggression and the world's inaction. Though the League failed to act, his speech cemented his place as a global anti-colonial voice. After the defeat of Mussolini in World War II, Selassie was restored to the throne in 1941 with the help of Allied forces. His return was met with jubilation, and Ethiopia remained the only African country, aside from Liberia, to avoid colonization, an enduring symbol of African resistance. Modernization and reform. As emperor, Haile Selassie pursued a vision of modernization, attempting to centralize authority, expand education, build infrastructure, and integrate Ethiopia into global institutions. He introduced Ethiopia's first written constitution in 1931 and updated it in 1955, though both maintained imperial authority. His reforms included abolishing slavery, establishing a national bank, improving road systems, and founding universities. However, his top-down governance style and slow implementation of meaningful land reform led to criticism, especially from a growing educated class that saw his government as out of touch with the majority rural population. Champion of African unity. Beyond Ethiopia, Selassie played a pivotal role in the Pan-African movement. He was one of the founding fathers of the Organization of African Unity, OAU, in 1963, hosting the first summit in Addis Ababa. His vision was of a united, independent, and self-reliant Africa. The OAU, despite its flaws, laid the foundation for the African Union of today. To many African leaders and revolutionaries, Selassie was both a mentor and a model. He supported liberation movements and maintained Ethiopia as a beacon of independence in a continent marred by colonial rule. The Rastafari movement. Perhaps the most unique aspect of Haile Selassie's legacy is his deification by the Rastafari movement. Emerging in Jamaica in the 1930s, Rastafari adherents view Selassie as the returned Messiah, the living God, based on biblical prophecy, especially from the Book of Revelation and Psalm 68:31. Figures such as Leonard Howell, one of the movement's early preachers, spread the belief that Selassie's coronation fulfilled prophecies. To Rastafari, Ethiopia was Zion, the Promised Land, and Selassie represented black redemption, dignity, and resistance against Babylon, a term for oppressive systems. Haile Selassie himself never claimed divinity. In fact, during his 1966 visit to Jamaica, where he was greeted by thousands of ecstatic Rastafari, he encouraged followers to seek Christ. Nevertheless, he acknowledged their devotion with diplomacy, meeting with key elders and gifting them land in Shashamane, Ethiopia, for repatriation, a holy gesture that still holds deep meaning. Decline and mysterious death. By the 1970s, Ethiopia was plagued by drought, famine, economic crisis, and political unrest. A new generation of Marxist revolutionaries blamed Selassie's autocracy and feudalism for the nation's problems. In 1974, he was overthrown in a coup by the Derg military junta, led by Mengistu Haile Mariam. Selassie was placed under house arrest, and his once glorious regime was dismantled. In 1975, under mysterious circumstances, he died or was killed in confinement. The Derg buried him in secret and tried to erase his legacy, but the flame could not be extinguished. In 2000, his remains were reburied in Addis Ababa's Holy Trinity Cathedral with full honors. Even today, debates persist over the cause of his death and the nature of his final days. Legacy and impact. Haile Selassie remains a towering figure in African and global history. He was a reformer who tried to bridge tradition and modernity, a spiritual icon whose image transcends religious boundaries, and a leader who stood against colonial aggression when few dared to. Critics point to his authoritarian rule, failure to prevent famine, and disconnect with common Ethiopians. Supporters highlight his global vision, his role in African independence, and his unmatched symbolism for black dignity. For Rastafari, he is Jah. For historians, he is a complex and consequential monarch. For Africans, he is both a reminder of imperial grandeur and the struggles of modern statehood. Whatever lens one chooses, Haile Selassie remains immortal, etched in songs and scriptures and in the hearts of those who chant. Haile Selassie I, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah.